You guys, I know I've reviewed the first two episodes of this show so far, and I told myself I was going to wait till the very end of the show to review the entire series as a whole. But I did get an opportunity to watch episode 5 in theaters through an early screening an hour before everybody else on Disney Plus, and oh, we have a lot to talk about. So, like I said, this is just going to be a quick video regarding my thoughts on episode 5. Primarily because I did have a rare opportunity to see this movie in theaters through early press screenings that were going around in the US. From my understanding, it looks like only 10 theaters across the US had this early screening. And it was just like a one night only screening an hour before the episode premiered everywhere else on Disney Plus. And I've gone to early screenings before, but this was my very first ever Star Wars related early screening, and I had to jump on the opportunity because it's very rare to see lightsabers in theaters, and I took it, and I'm so glad I did. We are officially in the second half of the season for Ahsoka, this being episode 5 of 8 episodes, and I can confirm that things start picking up in this episode. And I will say, just because of the nature of episodic reviews, I have to go into spoilers for this one because there's a lot to talk about that's spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen the episode before, so episode 4 or this current episode, go back, watch those, and then come back and let's chat about it. The first thing I want to bring up is Hayden Christensen is back as Anakin Skywalker, and what a breath of fresh air. He his I was really nervous with the previous episode because the CGI that was used on his face for just the one scene at the very end of the last episode, it looked like his face like someone painted. He looked like a drawing, like a painting, and so I was really nervous going into this episode how they were gonna treat his CGI, if it was gonna be the same or how it was just gonna look with a lot of movement. And again, I saw this in theaters, and from my perspective, it worked. It did not look as bad as the last episode, in my opinion. And again, not like you have to put a lot of work into the guy. The guy's in his 40s. You're trying to make him look like he's in his 20s. So there's a lot more to it that I'm not privy to, so I'm not going to pretend to understand like I know what I'm talking about. But I feel like a decent amount of makeup and a little bit of CGI could go a long way. And I didn't notice anything in this episode. He looked like he was pulled straight out of Revenge of the Sith, and his scenes with Ahsoka were so good. This episode immediately picks up where the last one left off, which again I love because there's no room for filler, especially in an 8-episode season. And you have Ahsoka meeting with Anakin, and essentially Anakin training Ahsoka on the last few lessons she needs to learn before she can eventually become Ahsoka the White. For a lot of people that don't know, Ahsoka the White is a kind of theory that a lot of people have been kind of churning about online because Ahsoka in the animated Rebels TV show shows up at the very end wearing a white cloak, so essentially noting that time has passed. And so because Ahsoka in the live action show has been seen wearing a lot of gray, they're like, okay, at what point will they transition her into from Ahsoka the Gray to Ahsoka the White, kind of piggybacking off of the Gandalf from Lord of the Rings story beats. And I just this episode was one of the longest, I think, clocking in at about 45 49 minutes, and it was perfect. It's essentially centered around Ahsoka and her character development and her character arc. And a lot of people were saying Ahsoka's acting was just really stiff or just kind of depressing the past few episodes. And again, myself, like many others, we understand that character development requires patience. And patience is something you get when you wait to reserve judgment until the show has been complete. I know it's very difficult, especially with limited episode series, especially series that release weekly. So a lot of your thoughts and speculations that you may have, you're left with thinking about them for a whole week before the next chapter unravels. And um, again, I personally, this might be an unpopular opinion. I am of the mind that I enjoy having all of my episodes brought to me at once, unless it's a show that's 20 plus episodes. But if it's a show that's 30 minutes long and 8 episodes long per season, I need it all up front because there are going to be moments in each of these episodes that are going to feel like they're either being dragged on or you you might start to lose interest. And I definitely feel like Ahsoka is one of those shows up until now. Episode 5 kicks up, and you get a lot of stuff that a lot of the fans that have followed Star Wars for a while are excited to see, and one of those things being flashbacks with Anakin and Ahsoka during the Clone Wars. You have their interactions with Captain Rex, and you also just have these really, really beautiful shots of Anakin kind of walking out into the distance, and you have him mirrored with the silhouette of Vader, and it's just there's so much nuance in this episode that you could tell that Dave Filoni knew what he was doing. Almost makes me wish that he directed all of the episodes. I know he wrote everything, and I know that directing it is a burden, especially when you're taking on 8 full episodes. But wouldn't it have been something to have a director's vision from script to screen be told individually for a full 8 episodes? And I think we would have gone on. It would have had more traction in the beginning if it started out this way. Switching gears just a little bit, I do want to talk about my experience in the theater watching this, on the big screen, because I think that's where it kind of differs. A lot of people will have different experiences having watched this episode on Disney Plus versus watching it in theaters, primarily just because of the visual effects and the audience. This episode was a good example of how an audience can really change your perception of a movie, of seeing a movie or a TV show, and having that kind of hype behind it. And it's just it. Luckily enough for me, the theater that I was a part of, everyone that went to see this episode, they were serious, professional. They all of the moments that a lot of people might consider as fan service in quotation marks, um, they worked, and the audience they were so excited for everything that happened, and I was along for the ride, and it made me satisfied in the end. Another thing that I wanted to call out was that the structure and organization of the folks with the theater chain as well as Lucasfilm organizing these screenings did an amazing job. Got us in and out real fast, and at the very end, we did get our own little trinket as a thank you, and it's a little poster here. One second, let me get it for you. All right, I'm back. So the poster that we got was this really cool Ahsoka promo poster. It's a mini poster, but it's pretty neat. And I gotta find a good place. I gotta find a good place for it. But still, it was a really cool experience, and I wish we could have more Star Wars in the big screen, because this is the kind of stuff that deserves to be seen and deserves an audience that's passionate for great storytelling, great visuals. I've had some time to sleep on it too, so this isn't an immediate out of the theater reaction. I saw this yesterday just because I wanted to kind of sleep on my thoughts, because I don't want the hype of the experience to overshadow what I really thought of the episode. And it was a good episode. From the introduction of young Ahsoka, the actress that played young Ahsoka, which I thought she did an amazing job in, to all of the different interactions. And I will say, this might be one of Hayden Christensen's top performances in the role of Anakin. I know the situation he is in now was very different than the situation he was in 20 years ago. But the character development, like his character, just so well rounded, especially if you know the history of the Clone Wars and have seen the animated shows. So it's just, it looks so good in live action. This is just the fifth episode. We still got 3 episodes left, so we'll see where we go from here. But please let me know what you guys thought down below. What do you guys think is gonna happen in the next few episodes? Do you think we're gonna finally see Thrawn? Do you think that the Purrgil are gonna take Ahsoka somewhere completely different, away from Ezra? Do you think they're gonna end up on our Earth? God, I hope not. But what do you guys think? Because this is the prime time for speculation and theories. It's what this is all about. It's all about the fun of it, and we got 3 episodes until the show's over. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Again, please, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe if you can. We are still trying to reach 100 subs. We'll get there eventually. So until then, I'll see you next time.